Welcome to episode number 22 of the Better with Brock podcast. I have Erin with me. She is actually the most recent winner of the Built by Brock 8-week challenge that I'm yet to announce, which I will announce before this is live, so you will know. But Erin has come a long way. She's, I don't want to tell her story. I'll let her tell it, but she's done an amazing job of I guess turning her situation around. She came, I think it was right at the start when you were in the moon boot when you signed up. But yeah, Erin, thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, can you give, I guess, just a little bit of an intro to who you are, and then we can kind of talk about, I guess, where you've come from and what your journey's been like.
Sure. So I live in the United States. I had heard about you from my cousin. So he had used, I think, one-on-one training, I believe, but it could have been
Who's your cousin?
Built by Brock, Tim Hafke.
Yes, one-on-one.
Okay.
His sister Betsy.
Betsy too. So those are my cousins.
Oh, right. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Surprise. So, so they had told me about you, and at the time, I mean, I've always been really active and done a bunch of stuff. And I don't know, I always had like you in the back of my head a little bit. And I started, I think, following you and kind of looking at some of your stuff, but there wasn't like, I didn't feel like I had a great reason to reach out. So I got into, I've always really liked running, and I got into running a little bit too much. I get into things, into habits, and we got a treadmill, which I was super excited about. So I started doing treadmill boot camp workouts with sprints and inclines and all of the things that I like, which I know that sounds crazy, but I like those things. And
that is crazy.
I started doing it every day until I started having some pain in my foot, and they had thought it was a stress fracture. So my doctor had put me in the moon boot I was in it for 3 weeks. So before that, I've always worked out hard and consistently, but never the same. I never really had great results because I didn't always have a plan. It was unorganized, or I would push myself too hard and I'd get hurt. And then I would backtrack, and, it was always kind of like that. Well, after having 2 kids, my plan was every day to work out when I got home from work. But when I put in the boot, I kind of felt, oh my God, if I can't run or do anything that I'm used to doing to maintain where I'm at, what's going to happen? Am I just going to start packing on weight? Like all of the things that I can do to stay where I'm at without really significant progress, but just stay where I'm at and be okay with it. I can't even do that. So I started to panic a little bit, and I thought, I think that your program was more weightlifting, and with the boot, that could be an option. And I reached out to you, and you were so kind, and you got back to me right away and kind of explained, you don't need to do any cardio during this. And I even had asked you, I think specifically, like, I'm in this boot. Do you think I should wait until I'm out of it, or should I do, what do you think? And you gave me good advice. And I thought, okay, well, the price is right for me because I don't have a ton of extra money right now with our 2 kids and daycare and all of those expenses. And so for the time, I thought, okay, one-on-one really isn't going to work. But your other program that you said would be a good fit based on my budget that I presented to you, I thought, okay, if it doesn't work, or it doesn't work for my lifestyle or whatever, I won't be out a lot of money. So what's the harm? So I was really, really happy when I started seeing results right away. And I thought, oh my God, how have I been missing this?
Yeah, it seems like you just kind of dive into things when you really enjoy them. And often that's quite hard for me to get people to buy in, especially because it sounds like I'm biased. Like I'm like, like you need a structured program.
Right.
And it sounds like I'm just trying to money grab people into training with me. But it's like, if you just tried it, Yeah, like, it'll start working, but you just kind of need to dive in. And it sounds like you did that too with your running as well. But
Yeah.
that's what I often say to people, like, not that they're going to get injured when they run, but it's actually quite like, especially if you're doing treadmill workouts, like every day treadmill and mixing that with
Yeah.
running and kind of doing all sorts of other stuff. Like often you'll throw in burpees and jumps, and it's quite stressful on
Yeah.
the knees and stuff like that. So often like, I don't say to everyone, you don't have to do cardio, but often if you mix that with weights, it can be a lot of pressure on your knees, and you can get
Mhm.
things that actually put people, yeah, like out for a bit to actually slow their results. I remember I trained a lady here in Sydney when I was doing face-to-face training for a minute, and she was actually, she started in a moon boot as well. I didn't tell you this, but yeah, I had to travel to her work and bring equipment to her and do things that we couldn't do things standing. So we would
Yeah.
get on like an exercise ball and do overhead presses and do lateral raises, like just kind of do anything. Um,
Yeah.
that wasn't really from running, but like it's limiting, but there's always a solution. And I think that's, I can't remember the exact words that I said to you, but that would have been what I conveyed, is like, we can work around it. There's always,
Mhm.
I think the worst thing you can do when you are injured is like completely stop everything. Like,
Right.
number one, from a motivational point of view, you just feel like you're doing nothing with yourself. Like you've gone from, in your situation, doing boot camps like every day to just
Yeah.
sitting on your ass. It kind of doesn't feel good from like a
No.
motivational point of view. It just feels very
Yeah.
static. And then
And I've
from,
always worked so hard, like
yeah,
so hard, and had little results. I mean, I felt better. My cardio, like my endurance was great. I'd get, faster and be able to do those types of things. And I'd set
mm,
goals, especially running goals, and I'd meet them, but I never really saw a huge change in myself, like physically,
mm,
like especially after having those two kids, I felt like it was so much harder to bounce back and get stronger despite my best efforts,
mm.
and to be able to put forth all of that energy into running. Like my first goal was I wanted to run a full marathon before my kid's first birthday. And I did it. But
Oh,
in order to do that and all of the training that goes with it, I mean, you have to be eating and eating and, like, because you just get dizzy and weak and headaches and all of those things when you're going out for 10, 12-mile runs for
mm.
training runs. That's, I would never get really, and I thought everybody that runs is skinny. Why am I not skinny? This doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I
So,
don't know.
so why was it running at the start? Like, why did you decide, okay, I'm gonna do heaps of running? Did you grow up doing running, or did you just enjoy it? Did a friend introduce it to you?
I've actually been a soccer player my entire life. I started playing travel soccer when I was, I think, 7 years old, but I played, kids, bumblebee soccer and things like that before that.
What's
I
travel
played
soccer?
soccer, where it's like competitive soccer that you do outside of your school. So it's a soccer club.
Oh,
So,
yeah, yeah,
but I did that all through. And then my adult years, I coached and played on co-ed teams and intramural type teams and stuff like that and kept it going. But then, shocking, I sustained 2 ankle injuries. One I was supposed to have surgery for, and I did not, but I ended up being okay and able to run and things like that after that. I went through all of my physical rehab. First game back, I stepped in a hole running
yeah.
backwards
Oh,
and did the other one. And I was a nurse, a working adult at the time I worked in a hospital. I was on my feet all day. So I had to be off work completely 2 times for months because I was non-weight bearing and then toe touch weight bearing and all those things. And I thought it's not worth it. I'm a grown up. I can't not go to work because it's not an option for me anymore. And it
yeah.
broke my heart, but I had to stop playing soccer. So running was always something I thought was fun and it was challenging and I kind of could control it a little bit. So I thought I'll just do that. And I did some like CrossFit and boot camp workouts and a little bit of like some MMA type open gym things, just stuff that I thought was fun because I like
Yeah.
high intensity, but
Mm.
I'm like stop or go. I was never like go on a walk. Oh, boring. That's not fun. That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I liked that stuff. So I get kind
Mm.
of down in the dumps when I couldn't play soccer and running kind of filled that for me. So
Yeah. And then, so when you joined Built by Brock, like what was it like going through, like, you don't have to talk about training in the moon boot or anything, but like, that's my kind of starting point from when I met, from when I met you.
Mhm.
So what was it like going from, I guess, running and doing fully intense stuff to like doing gym-based workouts? Because it's different. Like, it's not like, in the gym, if you just train, like, I know you train hard, but if you just train hard all the time, like it's a bit more, I guess, strategic. It's
Mhm.
not just kind of like go in and just go balls to the wall and just like and then
Yeah.
leave. It's a bit more of like more of a strategy. So how did you adjust to that?
I liked the challenge of that. I've always liked lifting weights, but I never did it, and I never had a lot of structure and guidance, I guess. So, I mean, I would do it, but I didn't really have a great plan. So I liked that the plan was super simple, and I was able to follow along. And if I didn't know what something was, I could look at a video and kind of figure it out. I would usually go through and watch each video for the exercises just to make sure I really knew what it was, and then I would go through and do it. I thought it was I liked it because it was new and it was a challenge, and I didn't find anything to be boring or anything
Mm,
like that, which was good for me. I was pleasantly surprised in that because I was so used to whatever, but I can still control my music. So I still can like put my headphones on and listen to whatever and, make it as intense as I want to.
mm.
Um, so I have really enjoyed that.
So did you find weights boring beforehand? Because that's quite a common thing. Like, like I've never found it boring just because I loved it, but I know that some people just don't enjoy weights. Like, especially coming from soccer and like coming from a
Yeah.
sporting background where it's so dynamic, and you're
Hmm.
versing like real life people in front of you. Yeah, it's
Right.
it's like exciting. And then sometimes when you go to a gym, it's like, oh well, now just these things aren't moving, they don't talk back, they just sit there, and I just lift them up and
Yeah.
put them down. Like, that's what I think sometimes, like, that's why I enjoy jujitsu. Like, I'm a big fan of people doing sport because it's,
Hmm.
well, especially people that aren't active, because it kind of disguises health in something fun.
Hmm.
Like, when I do jujitsu, I'm going for 90 minutes. I'm, wrestling, I'm fighting, I'm kind of doing whatever. And you don't realize, but I'm like sweating, like you sweat so much. And but then at the end of 90 minutes, you think it's fun. Sometimes when you walk into the gym, it's like, this isn't as fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're saying. That part was a little bit challenging because I had to shift my mindset, but I
Mm,
really going into it beforehand, I watched a bunch of the videos on like the nutrition and the strategy and the science behind things that you would put in there. And I kind of like prepared myself because my options at the time were nothing. I was just going to sit at home and rot for weeks or whatever if I wasn't able to do that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to figure this out. This is a good approach. I'm going to like listen, try to listen and pay attention and figure out what I need to do. And
mm.
I liked that part of it because it was almost like a game for me to try to navigate through something that I didn't already know everything about, because that's just easy to say, oh, I know how to lift weights or I know how to do this or this, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I saw that quite a lot, and I think you actually do move really well. But quite a lot of people that I saw face to face, especially as a personal trainer, when I'd see them, they'll say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I know how to squat, I know how to deadlift," and then I just because I'm curious, I'll say, "Okay, let's go out to the gym floor and like show me your squat," and it's not what they think. Like, especially when you film people, because
mhm.
sometimes when you do a movement, you think you're really nailing it, and then you see what you're doing, and it doesn't match what you think you're doing. So it's
Like if
always
someone records you dancing like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Like, I thought I was moving a lot better than that. Yeah. Yeah, it's similar to that. So um I always get a bit cautious when I hear that, but you actually do move well in the gym. um what would you say would be, I guess, the biggest difference of, I guess, the little kind of weights boot camp work to actually doing something structured? Was it more like you had to focus on form a bit more? Was it like you actually count your reps and sets and tempo now, as opposed to just like, oh, I'll just do 10 of these and 10 of these? Because like, one piece of feedback I get a lot is like, people don't even know what tempo is, for example. and they're like, oh, I just usually lift weights and, just do 10 reps and then that's it. I just rest until I'm not tired and then I go again. But, now you have rest to account. Now you have, like proper form to follow, tempo to follow. Like, was that very different to just the previous stuff that you did before?
Yeah. Because I mean, you don't think that all of that goes into it. Obviously, this many sets of this, okay, you can figure that out, but there's a lot more that goes into it than that. So that's an educational piece that I didn't really think about beforehand. And that was nice. And I like that you switch things up where it's like you're doing a ton of reps this week, or the way that you're doing things, it's always different. So I have to constantly like kind of calibrate, okay, well, what am I going to start with, weight wise, and what am I going to do? What do I think I can handle? And then I like that part of it too. It's not, oh, I'm just going to go lift this many pounds, this many times. And, there's more to it than that. So I think that's really good.
It can be quite monotonous lifting weights because there's only so many exercises under the sun. And even like after 14 years of training, I'm like, like there's not really an exercise I haven't done. So then you have to get kind of creative with tempo, with sets, with structures. Do you drop the weights? Do you do them descending? And I guess that's how you get more advanced. I think a big thing that you saw a difference was with your nutrition. I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. What did you do previously, and what was I guess the biggest difference of you seeing like significant results? We haven't even touched on, the amount of progress that you've made, which has been huge. But, maybe you can touch on that as well. But like, what was the big change? Because this is the thing that stuffs people up, is like people's nutrition. A lot of people just train like dogs. Like they can work, they can go into the gym, they can sweat, they can squat, they can run, they can jump, they can do whatever. And then they'll just get home and kind of like undo it all, like with the way they eat, because it's just, I don't know, there's this mindset that you can just like outwork any sort of diet that you follow. But where was your big change?
Yeah. That I think that's been the biggest piece, because I've always, like I said, consistently worked out almost every day, probably too much, 7 days, not taking rest days, things like that. But the nutritional piece, again, I've always thought, oh, well, I eat pretty healthy. Like, I don't eat, and I haven't for decades, any red meat. I eat just like lean chicken, turkey, fish. That's it. I like sweets and things like that, but I don't ever go overboard. I was never a snacker. Like I don't sit around and snack. I have drinks with friends, not all the time. Like there wasn't anything in my diet that was horrible, but I wasn't paying attention to how, like the exact calories of things. I had never counted calories before this. I always thought, I do not have time for that. There are too many things going on. It takes too long. And I had tried a couple times, like maybe gave it 2-3 days and thought, oh my God, I'm not doing this. This is horrible. I don't have time for this. It's horrible. I think the first time I tried it was with MyFitnessPal, but I don't know that there was like a barcode scanning option at the time. Like it was a while ago.
I think that's a new feature.
I kind of thought, oh my God, I can't, I'll just eat healthy. Well, I was eating healthy, but I was eating too many calories of the healthy foods. So starting to pay attention to it, it's been eye-opening. I can kind of now size things up and try to figure it out a little bit better. And I noticed just with that, in the consistent training, the weight just started to come off. And I've never seen progress of myself where I've never lost weight, except one time I did like the shake route because I was desperate. And I thought, I really need to do something. And I'd seen somebody who had lost weight doing that. I jumped on the bandwagon and it worked until I stopped drinking 2 shakes a day as my meals, which was very boring and not enjoyable at all. And I came back, and then I got pregnant the 2 times and had kids, and weight came back on. And it was never a huge weight gain, but just the way my body was composed had changed significantly. So it's been really exciting for me to see a change where I can get back into jeans that I wore before I was pregnant with my first daughter are getting to be too big. And that is kind of crazy to me. I'm like,
That is
oh my God.
crazy.
I remember I messaged you and said, I'm finally into a stack of pants I'd put into the other room thinking someday I'll get back into those. Someday I will, and I thought it was kind of like a pipe dream, but I got into them and now I'm finding them a little loose and I'm thinking this is just kind of crazy,
Yeah. So good.
It is.
I think that's the thing a lot of people do is just sit in that kind of like, I'm going to eat healthy.
Mhm.
I've worked with a lot of people and a lot of, I eat healthy, but I'm just not, it just doesn't work, or, I eat healthy, but this, and, there's multiple things with that. Like number one would have to be healthy is kind of different for everyone. It's very broad. Like what I would call healthy could be very different to what someone that's never done fitness calls healthy. They might think, like, for example, early back in the day, I used to think granola was healthy, right? And then you kind of look at it, some granolas are okay, but some are just full of sugar, full of honey, full of, oils and stuff like that. And the calories are huge. Like you eat, you kind of think you're doing a good thing by having a bowl of granola. And it's like, man, you could have just had a ham and cheese croissant and just got on with your day and it would have been less calories type of thing. Like healthy is very different. It's very broad and it's quite hard to kind of just say, oh, I eat healthy. But when you actually go in and analyze the calories, I think, you can start thinking health aside, obviously health is always a focus that I want people to focus on, but you have to kind of just like get into the nitty gritty of just like tracking. And I know it's off-putting because it can be annoying, especially weighing food is like really annoying. And I can understand as a busy mom and, working and stuff, you don't really think you have time to carry around scales or weigh food and you have to make food for more people than just yourself. Like it's easy, for me, I have a wife, but I'm just like, I don't have any kids. So I'm just like cooking for us two, or I don't cook. So she cooks for us too. And it's very different. Like, how did you find that process of tracking initially? Like, I know you said it wasn't super exciting at the start, but what kind of got you to stick with it? Because this is a hard sell for me as a personal trainer to say, all right, let's start tracking your food, because there's a lot of pushback because it sounds boring.
Yeah.
It sounds too intense. Like what made you get through it and stick with it?
Well, in the MyFitnessPal, I mean, it saves the foods you eat the most. If you've looked something up and you've entered it, that's there. So that ends up, the more you use it, the easier it is to just put in all of the things because I don't always eat the same things, but around the same things. And sometimes as a shortcut, if I don't put the exact thing in, but I know it's similar and calories are the same because I've looked it up and, I can't find this brand or that brand or whatever, but I know that because I've already, like if it's a protein shake in the morning, which I always have and try to keep it as simple as possible, those like prepackaged protein shakes. Well, this brand is 160 calories. This is 130 calories. I don't have time. I'll just click this one. That's more. Oh, well, I mean, I have a general idea. So for sustainability, I don't kill myself worrying about the details. I was weighing my food at first, like pieces of meat and things like that. But now that I kind of know about this size is this amount of, especially with just like the chicken, about this size is going to be 4 ounces. That's what I usually put, on my salad or whatever. And I don't feel like I have to wait anymore because the way I've been doing it, I'm still losing. I feel like I build enough of a buffer in there that I don't shoot low, I'll shoot high if I'm, that way I might overdo it a little bit, but then there's a buffer in there. So it hasn't been bad, but it took a while to get used to it. Because if you're busy, you don't want to sit down and say, oh, now I have to enter all this stuff,
Yeah. I used to do a similar thing. So when I did the ice cream challenge, I'm not sure if you followed me at the time, but I did an ice cream challenge where I ate like ice cream every day for 30 days. And then I, not just ice cream, I added ice cream on top of of whatever I was eating. Yeah, I wasn't just like, yeah, let's eat ice cream all day, every day. I think I would have died doing that. But I like, because I was eating ice cream every day, just to kind of prove the point, not that ice cream is the fat loss food that you're not eating, more so the fact that you can have a flexible diet, enjoy foods that you like. And I did, I guess, more of an extreme version. Like, I don't eat ice cream every day, but I wanted to prove to people that you could and still lose weight. So I lost over 5 kilos, which is, maybe 10 or 11 or 12 pounds over 30 days. And I created a calorie deficit. I ate ice cream every day. But the thing with the ice cream, and it was gelato, which is my favorite type of ice cream, is it's different with all the different flavors and stuff like that. So I would just do something similar to you. Like, I would just search up gelato and just add it in, because it's very different with the sort of foods that you're going to have. Like, and I think that is the most sustainable way to go, because sometimes you just can't have the foods that you search up something and it's not there. But, something is better than nothing in terms of an approach. Like, I get that a lot. Like, if you're eating if you're out and you're eating carbonara pasta, and how do you track that? Like,
Right.
do you put in, I think that's, 300 grams of fettuccine pasta or whatever it is. And, I think it's 50 grams of bacon and mushrooms and whatever. Like, I just search up carbonara and I'll just add that in. And it's probably not that accurate, but it's,
right.
I think it's more so the accountability that you feel like you're actually you're like tracking and you're staying accountable.
Yeah.
And you're actually able to change, because that's what I've found, that when you stop tracking, it's less, like, you feel less accountable. Like, you feel like you're, I guess, backsliding a little bit. I don't know the terminology, but just putting things in makes you feel like you're kind of like sticking to it a bit better. Like, did you find that or not? Is that just
no, I did. And I feel like even if there was a day, or, you're going out with friends or a birthday party or something, and you don't put them in because that you went over, whatever, it's hard to figure out what you had, whatever. Before I would go out that day, I would just make sure that I knew that would happen. Like, I would know, oh, they're gonna, we're gonna go here. And I would either put them in and just guess, or if I didn't enter it, I didn't enter it. I know that I went over. Tomorrow, I'm going to shore it up and do better and enter everything tomorrow. And then I'm just right back in it. That's, I don't know. That's kind of the way that I do it. And I know that's might not be the best way, but
I think it's different for everyone. Like, if we were competitive bodybuilders about to step on stage, it'd be very different. We probably wouldn't be socializing as much, or being a bit loosey goosey with everything that we're like, that we're tracking, would be a bit more onto it. How do you balance family life with your training and nutrition? You said you have a couple of kids, you work and stuff. And once again, I've always had the freedom of working in fitness. So for me, if you're not training and you're working in fitness, like, there's no real excuse, especially, when I was in the gym, it was like, oh, I've got an hour, I should just go lift weights. It's very different in your situation. So how do you prioritize it? How do you balance it?
It is. And it's kind of hard. It's
For
hard
sure
in the way that I like your program, because for me, I've been able to make it work with my lifestyle. So if I felt like me working out was cutting into time with my kids, I would probably drop off working out, because being a full-time working mom, I have from 6 in the morning when I wake up until 7:30 with them. That's it. And I'm getting ready during that time too, showering and, getting dressed, and they're needing to get dressed, and it's a mad dash out of the door. And then from 6 p.m. until 7:30 at night with them, Monday through Friday, that's it. So if I had to take a chunk of that to drive to a gym, which we're lucky, we've been able to, cruise for deals on Facebook Marketplace and all those things, and slowly build an acceptable gym in our basement with just like adjustable dumbbells, barbells, squat rack, things like that we've gotten from people.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
It's not cutting it. I'm not cutting into that time with a commute back and forth or anything like that. And I just I drive home from work. I get home around 5, and then usually by 5:10-ish, I'm in the basement in the gym, and I finish up before they walk in the door. And then I missed no time with them. I would have been doing nothing but maybe sitting on my phone and relaxing, dishes, things like that, that should probably get done too, but those can get done later. Like when the kids are in bed, if I waited to work out until then, I would be exhausted. I know my heart wouldn't be in it. It would just be one of those things, like the grind of like work, kids, working out, and then just going to sleep. I wouldn't have any time to relax. So I'm able to shove that right in there before they get home. And then, which is why I asked if we could do this at this time, because this is a time, there's a potential they'll come running.
So I've cut into your workouts. I've cut into your workout. Sorry.
Yeah. But it's just nice because it doesn't cut into anything. And that's what I've made it sustainable for me. If I had to get up early and work out, I'm not a good morning workout person. I feel like I'm weak. I feel like
no, it's not happening.
If I have to do it, like if I have a meeting after work and I know I can't get that workout in that day, or we're traveling or something, I'll do that. I'll make that adjustment to make sure I do the workout, but it's not as good as it could be. So I've found, if I drink a little caffeine before I leave work, and then by the time I get home, I'm able to get the workout in efficiently, and then it is what it is. So it's worked out well in that way. And they still get to see me coming up kind of like sweaty and after working out. And sometimes they'll come down right at the tail end and kind of join in. And my 4-year-old has these 1-pound weights that she gets on the bench and just does all this, and it's really cute. And I think it's good. She'll run around and say, I'll ask her, how'd you get so fast? And she'll say, I exercise a lot. And I think that's just like such a cute, motivational thing for me to keep going,
Yeah, especially if that stuff's rubbing off onto your kids,
Yeah.
It's really awesome. So what do you find sets you up for a good workout? Do you have any, like you said, you have caffeine in your car kind of on the way back? I do the same thing when I drive to the gym. I make a coffee and I put it in like a keep cup, and I'm like sipping on it while I'm there, so that when I get there, I'm like fully charging. What's like a good workout setup for you?
I would say definitely a little caffeine, not a lot, because I want to be able to go to sleep when I need to go to sleep too.
So caffeine impacts you if you have it later in the day for your
a
sleep?
lot. If I have a lot, it didn't used to, because I've worked all different shift work when I was working as a nurse, and but now I'm a little more sensitive to it at nighttime. It's probably just getting older or whatever. But I'll have like maybe a Diet Mountain Dew or something that's like just a medium amount of caffeine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like a cup of coffee, like one thing, not like a Monster or anything like that, because that would keep me up too long. Like no pre-workout or anything like that. If I did that, it would have to be like in the morning. So but doing that, and then making sure I eat like a good lunch, a healthy lunch and some snacks, so that I'm not super hungry when I get home. And loud music, my headphones, I think that is like super important. It's me motivated.
What sort of music?
It's me time. I don't really have, all day long, from the moment I wake up until that moment, I'm not thinking about myself. So it's nice to just kind of be by myself in my little gym with my music, whatever I pick. And
So what sort of music do you listen to when you're training?
You're going to be probably surprised. What would you think?
Oh man. I don't know. Well, I was going to say, judging by the videos you sent me on Instagram, it could be very country, very American country.
Oh no, that's those videos or those pictures were not a reflection of me at all.
I know.
I was forced into that situation.
But no, I don't know. Surprising. I'm going to say old school rap.
Yeah. Old school in the sense where like the kids today would be like, I don't know what that is, but not like super, super old school, like early 2000s type.
So
like
rattle off some artists.
southern rap kind of stuff.
Who's that? Like
Like,
Nelly? Is Nelly? No?
yeah, kind of. There's a lot, but it's I kind of, amongst my friends, I have that reputation of being the one that really likes the like hardcore rap music, and
Oh,
it's never expected by anyone. So it's just motivational for me more than anything,
right.
like the beats and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been getting a lot into so my friend Dave, who's a PT, he loves like 50 Cent, like kind of like more
Mhm.
older school 50 Cent.
Yeah.
And so I've been getting on like, so I made a playlist called Old School Rap. So I'm actually listening to, well, what I call old school rap. I don't really know what old school rap is, right? It's probably not even
Right.
what I'm saying, but it's like Tupac and like Wu-Tang and like Notorious
Mhm.
B.I.G. I've been listening to that. And I find it motivating too. I think not necessarily from the point of the lyrics, more so like, so I've been listening to a lot of Tupac. I find it motivational in terms of the spirit and the passion and stuff that they
Yes.
kind of
That's
come from.
exactly where I'm at. I
Really?
think, yeah, I think people would, they listen to the lyrics and think, "Oh my God, you listen to
Yeah.
that?" Like
Talking
I
about killing
support,
people. Yeah.
yeah, like I support what they're saying. That's absolutely not the case. It's just exactly what you're saying. It gets you like hyped up,
It's the message.
and
Mm.
yeah, yep,
Yeah, it's like yeah, I don't know what it is too. It's like the vibe or the energy that they're like, and then you take that into your workout. Because I was
yes,
like listening to Audible and like books and stuff sometimes, and it's sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know, I'm trying to like train, but then I'm also say I'm listening to like some finance Audible, like trying to, like I've been trying to listen to like property books and stuff, and I'm like trying to think of tax rates and stuff while I'm training. I'm like, no, like I need some
yeah,
Tupac right now because I'm
yeah.
struggling over here.
I would do that. I would listen to Audible when I was going on long runs because the
Mm,
music, you can only listen to so many songs in a row, or I would have my running playlist, and I would need a break from that just to fill the time because it would be so long that you'd be out running. And then towards the end, I'm like, okay, I need music back on. I need to be remotivated, like you kind of needed to space out for a little bit.
yeah.
But yeah, when I'm working out, it has to be like really aggressive, loud music to get me
Yeah,
through.
yeah. Now I've changed my Audible to like drives. Like if I'm
Mhm.
driving somewhere or walking somewhere, then yeah, I'll put on stuff to learn.
Yep.
Because you feel like when you're walking, you can kind of also take in things. But yeah, training's definitely changed the old school rap now. Um, one more question on nutrition. I know we kind of got sidetracked. What do you find has been like, I guess, some of the keys that have worked for you nutrition wise? Like I know flexible dieting has been awesome for you, and actually allowing yourself to have certain things that maybe you wouldn't have, like I remember on one of the calls you mentioned one of the soccer moms dropped donuts off and you were like, and you had them. Like what has been some of the keys to you actually, successfully getting progress? And you haven't mentioned it, but I wrote it down. 16.8 pounds, you said, is kind of what you're down now weight wise.
No, that's what I was just before at the 8 weeks. I'm
Okay.
down 32 pounds. Yeah.
Oh, double it.
Yeah.
32 pounds. That's
Yeah.
huge.
I know. I know.
Okay, then. Well, that's a different story. That's massive. Great job. Yeah, because you sent
Thanks.
through the photos. Because I have the photos that, when you submitted for the challenge, which has just been,
Yeah.
which is awesome in itself. But, you've continued to progress, which is amazing.
Yeah. So, for the nutrition piece, every morning I have like a protein shake, so that keeps it simple for me. And I
Mm.
usually will stay full. I'll drink that, and I'll drink a cup of coffee,
So
a couple of,
is it just a protein shake? It's not like a smoothie or anything. It's just like
no, it's just
protein and
like the
water or protein and
pre-mix.
milk. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like milk-based protein shakes, but they're like either 120 to 130 calories.
Yeah.
And that'll keep me full until lunchtime.
Hmm.
So I've found that has been really a lifesaver for me because, I'd eat cereal and with milk or, just whatever. And I actually found these breakfast sandwiches too, which I had my first one today and I was really happy about it. It was 150 calories. And it's
Sandwich.
like it's a egg sandwich and a pita wrap with turkey sausage and cheese. and it was 150 calories.
Sounds good.
So yeah. So
sounds better than a protein shake, that's for sure.
I know they're probably more expensive, but
yeah.
I stick to something simple. So I'm not, I set myself up to have like more at lunch, and I make it easy, because if it gets complicated, then things fall off. I always try to set myself up for success in that way. So for lunch, I'll usually have a salad with like the pre-cut, like a big tub of greens, grab as much as I can of the greens and put them in there. And then for my protein, it's either pre-cooked chicken that I've made ahead of time, or my husband has, rather. He does all of the cooking like that. Or I found these unbreaded grilled chicken strips in the freezer aisle that they have like buffalo chicken ones and blackened ones. And those I can just throw in the air fryer. So if I'm making a lunch in the morning, I can put them in for like 7 minutes or so while I'm getting the kids ready, and throw it on top of my salad with a low calorie dressing, some carrots, so I'm still getting a big amount, some
like
easy snacks.
Yeah,
easy snacks. Like I eat these turkey pepperoni sticks and like a cheese stick and yogurt and things like that are easy, so that I'm not sitting there starving thinking, ooh, what can I get out of the vending machine, or what can I order? We have these little robots that'll deliver us food to our work.
No way.
Whatever you want. You order it on your phone. Huh? Yeah. A robot. They're like these little white robots, and you order it on your phone and they drive to work. This is horrible for me when I was pregnant, because they would come every day and they can bring you donuts and coffee and Mediterranean food and pizza, whatever you could imagine.
So it's kind of like Uber Eats, but it's just, there's no human
involved.
There's
no person.
So they self-drive from the places. Right.
And they stage, and I'll send you a video sometime, because it's really weird.
I think that's dangerous. It talks to you.
Yeah. It'll say, hello, thanks. And you got to like send it away on your phone. Yeah, it's really, but it's easy for me to access bad food is what I'm getting at. So it's nice for me to try to set myself up. For example, I had to work the county fair all week, and I was there I would run the safety meeting in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. I was there. So I'm around fair food, like all of the horrible foods that you could imagine, just high calorie, everything the whole week. And the safety meeting starts off in the morning with donuts. So everybody goes and gets donuts. So, but
in the morning too, you're starting off your day with donuts.
I know.
It's a hard start.
So I would tell myself, if I'm going to have a donut, I'm going to have one donut this week. Okay, whatever. I'll pick a good one. It'll be fine. But then that day for lunch, I would go, because I couldn't really pack a lunch because it was very hot out there and there was nowhere to keep my lunch. And so if I ate that, then I would get a salad, or I would bring healthy snacks with me so that I could eat healthy snacks and then not be worried about, then I would go get, a turkey burger or something that wasn't as good, but I would have the healthy snacks to counterbalance it, instead of going around and getting a milkshake, fries, a hot dog, elephant ear, whatever. So little tricks like that, like in the balance. I love fair food. Who doesn't, So if I'm going to have a milkshake today, then I'm not going to have a donut in the morning, or I'm not going to, I would just kind of pick and choose what I was having. So
yeah, preparation's a big one. And I think that's what a lot of people aren't willing to do. And now we only have Uber Eats over here. We don't have robots delivering food, but I can imagine with that, it's only going to get worse in terms of, the, I guess, nutritional environment we can create. It's so easy to get food that being prepared, even, I was talking to my wife last couple of days, she'll take in salads and she'll cook eggs and kind of put them in Tupperware containers and take them. You have to kind of be proactive if you do want to have a kind of healthy baseline, because if you rely on, I guess, what the world will give access to you, it's not very, look at the majority of people, even in Australia or, in the States, now I feel like the majority of people are overweight. as opposed to, you know, in any other way, just because it's so easy to get
It's
access
hard.
to that food. Yeah.
At my job, we travel a lot to different areas. And like last week, we went to a meeting outside of the county and there was pizza provided for lunch, just pizza. But I proactively packed a lunchbox and I had some snacks and stuff in there. That way I wasn't starving. That way I didn't feel like I had to eat 3 pieces of pizza. I could eat my snacks and then eat 1 piece of pizza. Like I'm not going to exclude myself. I'm not going to be,
like,
you know,
I don't eat
that. Sorry, that doesn't fit my, no, I like pizza. It's good, but I wanted to be able to set myself up that I wasn't super hungry and making really bad choices.
Yeah. And I think when you get to like, oh, you know, I don't eat pizza, I don't eat this, like it can start affect, like it kind of affects people socially. But then also you kind of lose that enjoyment in life. Like
it's not fun. I
like
like
you
all
still
that
want to have
stuff.
you still want to have an aspect of, you know, okay, I'm gonna have some pizza today, I'm gonna have some, you know, like I went up to Queensland for my niece's first birthday the other week, probably about a month ago now. And yeah, I was eating donuts, you know, there was like burgers and chips for like that they put on. I was like smashing it all. And it was like kind of that whole weekend, I guess, was like way more food than I would usually eat. So I kind of compensated, instead of just doing a day, I kind of had to compensate for a week because it was kind of like an extended amount of donuts. And, you know, because then you're back with the family and they have it at home and stuff. So yeah, it's about balance. And I think people's idea of balance is also different as well. Like just like health, you know, when people say, "Oh, I'm healthy," or "I eat healthy," it's very broad. I have three questions that I wanted to wrap it up with. Like I called the podcast Better with Brock, not just so we can talk about fitness, but more so about getting better holistically in all aspects. So 3 questions. First one, what is one thing you do every day to be better?
I would say probably my workout. I mean, not even necessarily just, I started doing this after I gave birth to my second daughter and I was cleared to work out. It was like, you know what? I'm doing all these things for everybody else. Every day, my husband is very supportive of this. He's like, every day, if you want to work out, I'll make it happen. I know we have stuff to do. I know, you know, the list always is growing, you know, but you take the time for you, whatever you need. So I would say, okay, all I need is a half an hour. All I need is 45 minutes or an hour or whatever. But because I get that time to myself, no dogs touching me, no kids touching me, no one yelling, mama, mama, mom, which you might hear soon because they're probably pulling in the driveway. But
okay.
It's makes me better because it gives me peace of mind. It makes me stronger physically, mentally, and then I'm better with them. I'm not riled up or stressed out or feeling slow or sad. You know, I'm energized. So I would say that is the thing. And if it's a rest day or something like that, that day, just having that time to myself, you know, going on a walk or doing something like that would make me better and be able to perform better for everybody. So
yeah. I've had a lot of friends have kids and, you know, kind of first kids, and they're kind of just adapting. I've seen some prioritize that time to train, and, you know, like they'll wake up, the dad will go train, come back, and then the wife will go train and come back. Like it's like a schedule type of thing. And then I've seen other people that just haven't trained for months and they've just kind of let it slip.
It's easy to do that.
Yeah, like, and I can't, you know, I'm not a father, but I can, you know, so I can't say, oh, this is right and this is wrong. And I'm sure there's no right or wrong in parenting, and everything's different. But yeah, everyone kind of responds differently. But I think taking that time to have your time is pretty important, especially as kids. Like time, it gets very precious, very quick.
It does. It does. It makes you very efficient.
Yeah. I think so. Our second question: what is one book that you've read that's made you better? I know you put one in the Facebook group around. I can't remember what it was, but you put it in the Facebook group around what you did for work. I haven't read it, to be honest, because I have like a big wish list that just keeps growing and growing and growing, and I can't seem to read fast enough. But yeah, what's one book?
So like I said, my time is very precious. I used to
Yeah.
love reading, and
Yeah.
now my Audible list is, it is what it is. But the books that I read, usually I feel like to justify me spending the time to read them, they need to serve a purpose. So
Yeah.
whether that's making me better, or whether that's helping for work with different perspectives on things. So the book I shared with you fits into that kind of both ways, because I like listening to leadership books and things like that. But it was The Unthinkable by Amanda Ripley. And it's really interesting because it just goes into the science of why, which I like that piece, the science behind everything, the science of why and how people react during disasters in times of like crisis and stress. So it doesn't have to be isolated to a disaster, but like how and why people react a certain way. I feel like it's really helpful for you to understand in your own mind how you can adapt when
Has it?
presented with any challenges. So,
Yeah.
training, anything. So,
Has it impacted you with the knowledge that you've taken from the book and how you live day to day, or how you react under stress?
yeah. I think that it provided a lot of insight just historically about different disasters, which I really like. And because that's what I do for work, is like disaster preparedness work. So it's nice to understand that. And it helps me understand why I react to things the way I react, and help me kind of understand my own psyche. And, the reason that people have certain muscle memory and, freeze, the fight or flight type thing. And yeah, I think it's a great book. I always recommend it to everybody. So
Yeah. Uh, a side question on that. Do you think stress can be beneficial for people? Because there's like, oh, my life is stressful, or there's too much stress in my life. I kind of have this theory where I think the most stressful times of my life have been the times that have been the most transforming, not necessarily the happiest, because stress and happiness don't really go together, but it's more so in hindsight. And I feel like in our lives, depending on what stress it is, like obviously there's like, oh, I don't have much time and kids and stuff like that's a kind of daily stress. But I mean, like kind of like stressful times that are challenging. I think my perspective is to kind of push towards that, because I believe that's where I've kind of transformed and grown out of that. And maybe it's in the book or something, but do you feel like that should be something we push towards, or something that like, yeah, like maybe a stress-free life is good? Because that's kind of what people are pursuing, right? Like, I don't want stress, but I think we should pursue some kind of stress, not necessarily just be stressed all the time. Like, oh, I've got deadlines to meet and kids and work, and just always be like a headless chicken. But I feel like there should be some sort of aspect of stress that we push towards. What do you think about that?
No, I agree with you. I know that that's kind of like a controversial topic because, everyone wants to be stress-free, protect your peace. If you don't like something, you don't need to deal with that.
Like,
And
avoid
that's
it.
fine. Everybody's different in their amount of resilience too. So some people, having a little bit of stress it's too much for them to handle. But I know that I perform best if there's a little bit of stress, if there's a little bit of, it helps you kind of laser focus in on what you need to do. It gives you a little bit of motivation. I always feel like I do much better when there's a little bit of stress. If there isn't, you go in, doesn't matter. I can dress however I want and do whatever I want and say what. No, I feel like you should be a little stressed, but it's on a scale. Whatever's healthy for you. If you're finding that your stress is causing you to be physically, mentally, in a bad way, then that's something that needs to be modified. But otherwise, I think a little bit is a good motivator and driver. That's how we get better. You don't get better by sitting around and doing nothing. You gotta learn more, seek more, do more.
Yeah, I had a quote yesterday: if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. It's quite like quite simple, but it's very true. And
it is. Some of the things that have been the most stressful for me, like that in the moment, I thought, oh, this is horrible. This is the worst thing ever. Oh my, I can't believe this, and really made me mad, made me better, and changed me for the better. It
Yeah.
just took a little bit of reflection to realize that that's what it was. So
Yeah, I can put it down to, so there's points in my life, and this is probably, it could just be poor financial management, but there's like been two really key points that I was like literally very broke, like
mhm.
nothing to stand on. And from those 2 points was like kind of where I pushed into the trajectory where I am now. So like the first example was when I first started, like I used to sing and I wanted to be like a Calvin Klein model, and I had all these like dreams, right? And I was a TV presenter in New Zealand at the time, and I was doing all the stuff, and I quit like normal jobs, and I just did that stuff, and then it kind of ended, and then the band broke up. I had to go into the label and say, hey, we want to disband. And it was just me. So it was like, it wasn't me and the band, it was just me. So it felt like more intense than it did. And I kind of like went back and I was like, I don't have much money. You know, when you're doing music and you don't make it, especially in New Zealand, where some people don't even know it's a country, it's so small. Like, and you're like back yourself in a artistic way, which is quite challenging financially if you don't really make it. Like I was like broke and I had this big breakdown at home. I was 20 years old. I had like I called it like a midlife crisis. I was just like, I was like, what do I do now? Right. So I spent like a couple of days and I was like, you know, like bawling my eyes out type of stressed, like no money, no real sure way of where I was heading. And then that was when on the back of that, I decided, okay, I'm going to do personal training. I've played sport my whole life. I've trained my whole life. I'm passionate about it, blah, blah. So I like called heaps of gyms and just kind of started. So on the back of that kind of stressful time, it forced me to make a decision to where I wanted to go. And I did like all the personality tests in the world, like what's what's the best career for this personality type, blah, 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 blah. I was like really focused. I did that. And then even more recently in 2020, when I left the gym face-to-face personal training, I went online. I tried to build this website and I got done over by these web developers and I lost like tens of thousands of dollars, which was lots of money. That I worked hard with, like kind of saving up as a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And Kiki and I just went on this holiday with my dad and with my best friend, and we kind of like hung out and had this amazing time. And it was quite an expensive holiday, right? And then on the back of that, it was like I left the gym. I thought I'd have this website that would be, you know, great to do my personal training online. Didn't happen. Got back. I had like $2,000 left, which is only about a month's rent in Sydney. Kiki had just moved in, my wife or my girlfriend at the time. So I was like $2,000 sounds like you have quite a nice little pocket, but in Sydney, that is not a nice little pocket. Like that's like the equivalent of $20 these days. I feel like it just
Yeah.
disappeared. So like, once again, I was at a point where I was like, you know, I feel challenged as a man because I'm like, man, I can't even provide for my girlfriend. She's moved in, you know, and you know, I was like, bawled my eyes out again. I was like, what am I doing? Blah, blah, blah. But then that kind of forced me to double down. You know, I was like, okay, I'll just make it work. So I'll start posting more. I'll, you know, do my own website thing. And like that's these two stressful times. And these haven't been the only stressful times, but I can just think of it off the top of my head, like were the best parts of what have made me kind of, you know, push to where I want to be. So I think often people that feel unfulfilled, I think they don't have enough stress, or their levels that they can handle are very low just because they're so used to trying to have a stress-free life, if that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
quite, yeah. Our last question, one quote you love that has made you better. I love books and quotes and, you know, morning routines and all that kind of stuff, if you haven't guessed. But
Yeah.
yeah, one quote you think that's made you better.
I would say fail to prepare to fail. Like that is kind of my life mantra. I mean, it carries into my work, into my everyday life with the kids. Um, just setting yourself up for success by pre-positioning things to make your life a little easier. Because if it's not simple, if it's not, then it won't be sustainable. If it's not, you know, it's for me, I just know myself, if things are too chaotic, I have to triage what I need to do and certain things will drop off the list. So if I prepare myself for things adequately or as much as I can, then I'll set myself up for success. So that's Benjamin Franklin, that quote. I'm sure you've heard that a million times, but
yeah, I don't know if it was Benjamin Franklin. I've heard that quote before. So what's ways that you prepare, like say on a daily basis, or like practical ways that you prepare to fail or fail to prepare? Like how do you apply that?
Like I said, with the food stuff, making sure that I have all of my all the easy things for me to grab so I can make the lunch. That way I'm not stuck scrounging for something that's going to be more high calories. Making sure that I can get a workout in a certain amount of time. So if I have something that comes up, a meeting or something that I need to do, I make sure that I say, okay, mentally, this is my plan. I'm going to have to either double up these days. I'm going to have to get up early and do this. I'm not just going to leave it to the, you know, the cosmos or whatever and just say, oh,
to the robots.
I'll do it whenever. No, this is what I needed to do. So how do I make it happen? I try to make sure that I'm setting myself up like that. With the kids, if there's anything that they need to do for school, or I set it out the night before, it's just easier to do things like that, because if you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, things are going to fall off the priorities, especially things that are important to you, but it's not, you can only do it however much you can do. So
yeah. I think that's like taking ownership as well. Like you have to, I read a book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, which is a great
one of my other favorite books.
Oh, is it? Yeah. So yeah, I love that book. I'm not like super into I guess like military, and I don't have much knowledge on that, but I really resonated with the message of that book. And
that's what I probably would have said, like book number 2 would be. So that's
Extreme
good.
Ownership. Yeah. It's a strong one of mine too. Like I'm a big fan. I just think the message of it, not enough people take ownership. There's too much kind of like entitlement, and they think that things should be kind of brought to their lap, where I'm a big believer in you should work for the position that you want, as opposed to just kind of ending up there. Erin, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
The kids are probably coming home. Congrats.
Oh, yeah, they're downstairs. I'm surprised they haven't made a guest appearance.
Right. Yeah. And congrats. Sorry, I got the 16 pounds wrong. I was just like off the 8 weeks. But 32 pounds, like congrats. It's an awesome, part of my job to be a part of it. Not that I take credit for any of it, but it's awesome to be, involved in the situation and guide you. And it's very inspiring, especially like now that my friends are having kids and I kind of understand it properly now, how you as a full-time working mom are pushing on and charging and achieving amazing results, spending time for yourself, not just being, I guess, a slave to other people's wants and needs, which I'm sure you have many to fulfill. It's like making that time for yourself is super important. So congrats on that. Thanks for your time once again. And I'm sure we'll talk very soon again.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Erin.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.